Hey guys, it's me again. It's been one hell of a day. First off, I did listen to your advice. I decided against going camping as many other people suggested. I decided to continually drive. Many people suggested I leave immediately, but I needed to prepare. Using my credit cards would have been easily traceable, and my own could be tracked through the license plate. Last night after I put up my post, I withdrew a large amount of money from my account and rented a car. Everything was set up for this morning. We woke up at 4 a.m. and left for the road. At this point, I hadn't yet told Sam everything. I was scared. You have to understand, it's difficult telling your partner that you think a shadowy governmental organization is trying to ruin your life. She slept through the beginning of the drive anyway, which gave me a chance to recollect myself and think. Many of you mentioned how little of a reaction I had when my mother was brutally murdered. Things were tough, and while she tried her best to raise me, my father broke her. Well, I don't blame her for most of what happened, as that honor goes to my father. I never really had a solid relationship with her either. The first solid parental figure I had was my aunt, and she passed away several years ago from old age. She was much older than my mother. I was still very affected by my mother's death, but I have a habit of hiding my emotions. Really, the only person who gets me to open up is Sam. She was the only one who helped me through most of that. I'm not proud of the stuff I did in my first year or so of high school. I don't really want to get into all that, but the point is Sam found me, saw the good in me, and brought it forth. I wouldn't be half as successful as I am without her. Seeing my mom dead was very shocking. I was sick from all the gore, but emotionally, I felt weird. Rather than sadness, it just felt weird. I hadn't seen my mother in years, and now she was just gone. I feel kind of guilty for not feeling bad, and for not going to see her for years. Sorry for the rambling, I know you guys are just here for the spooks, but I don't know, you might be curious. I just really have trouble building connections with people, and I'm fairly sure I'd be a complete loner if it wasn't for Sam. Around hour 3 of driving, Sam woke up. "Hi," she said groggily. It was cute watching her rub the sleep out of her eyes. "Hey there, Sleepy," I said, giving her a warm smile. She smiled back, looked at the clock and said, "Hey, we should have been at the campgrounds by now. What's up with that?" I sighed. "We're not going camping. It wouldn't be safe." "Okay, tell me what's going on. There's something you're not telling me." I took a pause before I continued. "Look, you know that letter I got on Friday? One in the black envelope that offered $10 million? Yeah, well, it was real. So we have to run. Also, the $10 million isn't a factor anymore." "What?" "Oh yeah, that's something I forgot to mention. I called the number this morning. It didn't go according to plan. I dialed the number and called. It instantly answered and the automatic message played. "Hello, Mr. Jones. Thank you for calling. By calling this number, you have chosen to opt out of the $10 million prize at the end of the week. Due to the effort put into this project, we are unable to cancel your daily tortures, but we will happily cancel the delivery of the prize money. Goodbye." I knew then that I couldn't be making any more mistakes. Sam's life was most likely on the line.
"Why the fuck didn't you tell me about this sooner?"
Sam screamed at me.
You know what? Don't tell me. Doesn't fucking matter."
The rest of the drive we sat in silence. Eventually we made it to a fairly large city in the next state over. There we decided to take a break and stay for the night. I thought we could blend into the crowds, but I overlooked something vital. Sam had managed to hide the fact that she had a phone this whole time. I was pissed. How could she not have realized that that thing puts us in jeopardy? This soon showed to be more dangerous than I could have ever thought. We spent the evening in a large casino. I thought it could help us blend in, and it would give me a good opportunity to destroy Sam's phone. Plus, She was fairly exhausted from the day-long trip, and some fun was due for her, but I made sure to watch her like a hawk. While Sam played at the slot machine, I pretended to go to the bathroom. While I walked away, I sneakily took her phone from her purse. I managed to duck out of sight, but so that I could watch Sam. It gave me just enough time to stomp on her phone. We ate a nice dinner at the casino, and then I drove us to a hotel on the complete opposite side of town. It was late, and I was exhausted, so I decided not to do any driving that night. I managed to get a suite that had a computer so I could give you an update. I've had an awful headache ever since I got to the hotel, and I just couldn't shake it off. It was made much worse by Sam screaming at me after she discovered her phone was missing. It didn't take long for her to realize what had happened to it.
I swear to God, you're so fucking nuts. Driving us out of the state because you got a spooky letter in the mail that you had no proof was real. And now you get rid of the only means of communication with our fucking families. Well, my family at least, since it seems like you don't give a shit about yours.
She shrieked at me. I could instantly see the regret on her face. Tears stung my eyes, but I had no time to cry. The door to the suite slammed open. The bastard who I stabbed with the butter knife had burst through the door and charged at us. I saw a steak knife lying on the counter in the kitchen. With no time to think, I lunged for it, grabbed it, and right as the man ran into me, I stabbed him, hitting him in the side of the neck. He hit the ground, gurgled, and managed to sputter some words. Just like Xavier. I had a panic attack then. I blacked out for about half an hour. When I came to, Sam cleaned up the scene mostly. She was shockingly calm. I just tend to get calm in intense situations, but I just fucking killed someone. She handed me a black envelope.
I found this in his coat pocket.
There was another letter inside, and it read like so. Dear Mr. Jones, I detest this game of cat and mouse. Please stop wasting my time. Running will only make things worse. Signed, Z. It was then that I realized that Sam and I needed to run fast as we could. This man was expendable. The bastards wanted me to kill him. God, that was today's torture. I gave in to it. Fuck. It was almost as if Sam could hear my thoughts. She grabbed my hand.
Let's get out of here. I'll drive,
she said, looking at me deep in the eyes. I love her so much. I hopped on here to write this quickly before we leave. Good night, guys.
Hey everyone. If you read the title, you can probably guess who I am. My name's Samantha. I won't tell you my real last name because it would give away information that I don't want to give away. But instead, I'll use the pseudonym Andy uses. You can call me Samantha Jones. You've gotten to know my husband quite a lot over the last few days, or so I understand. So, now you have to deal with me. I am well aware that I'm not very liked here. I just want to deliver the story. You'll understand why it's me delivering the story rather than my husband once we get to the conclusion of the story. First, however, I would like to state that I love my husband more than anything, and I would never, ever want to hurt him. Period. Next, I want to state a little bit of information about myself. Just so you know a little about me. I'm 29 years old, and I work as a salesman for an insurance company. Basically, I'm a corporate slave. I had a fairly normal upbringing, at least compared to Andy's. Nothing terribly traumatic happened to me, which I'm very thankful for. Knowing the stress and pain it's put on Andy really makes me count my blessings. I'd always known Andy. We went to the same school since kindergarten, and he was always known as the tough kid. The kid from the wrong side of the tracks, the kid whose dad got thrown in jail for drunkenly stabbing someone. We only really started getting to know each other around sophomore year of high school. I was told by the school counselors to befriend him so that he would have a positive influence. I was really hesitant at first, mostly because this was after the whole Xavier thing. Don't ask. And like I suspected, he was a total asshole to me. But I'm a stubborn motherfucker. Eventually, he started to open up. Inside, he was a really great guy. Really hurt, emotionally unstable. Good guy. I started drawing forth that guy, and soon I found myself in love with him. Longing glances whilst doing homework turned into stolen kisses behind the bleachers. He really changed throughout the second half of high school. We managed to get into the same college, and we both became corporate slaves. Separate occupations and companies, though. Flash forward to yesterday, he woke me up at 4 a.m. and forced us to run from home. He demanded that I leave my phone at home so we can go camping. He seemed hysterical to me. He looked so sick. And he had a concussion from a few days earlier. What was I supposed to do? Of course I took my phone with me. I was scared for his life and my own. When I woke up from my nap and he dropped the news about the whole fucked up situation, I legitimately felt like he'd gone crazy. He seemed completely emotionless telling me. The usual cheer in his voice had completely gone. I'd heard about his mother on the news the day earlier, and when I asked him about it, he was completely dismissive. Now seeing him yesterday, I was terrified. I had no idea what to think. I was worried he might be dangerous. I knew he'd never hurt me, but he seemed completely off. I'd never seen him like this. He was like a complete zombie. I hid my phone just in case he went berserk if he saw it. Once we got to the big city, which will remain nameless, I was stepping out of the rental car when my phone fell out my purse. With a completely flat tone, he asked,
"Why didn't you leave that? It could endanger us."
I kind of mumbled some weak excuse about forgetting that it was in my purse, and he moved on. I was relieved. He seemed to relax a bit when we got into the casino, and so did I. He still seemed extremely paranoid, but he was still getting better, thankfully. I laid back and enjoyed myself for a little bit. Once we got to our suite, I assumed he'd calmed down enough about my phone. Boy, was I wrong. When I realized what he'd done, I snapped. I didn't mean to, but it had been stressing me out all day. Then everything went downhill, as you know. I'll skip all over that, though, since you already had the details of that. That night I drove out of the city. It wasn't safe there. I could clearly see that now. A million things were going through my head at the time. How Andy had killed someone? How he might go to prison? How there was an organization of psycho fuckwads who were willing to kill and die to make my husband's life a living hell. One of those ways was most likely by killing me. Which, not going to be selfish or anything, is something that bothered me quite a lot. I didn't want to die. Really, nobody does on the inside. Things can obscure your vision of things. It can bully you into thinking you don't matter. But when really deep down, you know that's not true. It can lead people to do terrible things to themselves and others. All of this running through my head when Andy woke up.
"Hey."
He said weakly. "Hey."
"I'm sorry you had to see me."
He couldn't finish his sentence before bursting into tears. "It's okay, you were trying to protect me," I said, trying to comfort him.
"I know, but what he said when he died made me think of..."
He couldn't finish this sentence either. "Shh, I know, and it'll be alright. You know what? Let's think about something else." I turned on the radio. "Listening to the radio always used to relax you," I said, smiling at him. He smiled back. As we drove down the long rural road, it was calm. For a time. We had just switched roles about 30 minutes before the news came on. Jonathan Jones, a prisoner at a redacted prison, was brutally killed in a knifing. Jones being serving a life sentence for murder. This case raises questions about prison conditions. This was very significant. The man killed was Andy's father. He was very shaken, began to breathe very heavily. "No, honey, please calm down. It's okay." Suddenly Andy's head hit the wheel. He was now driving, so the abrupt stop caused us to swerve off the road into a ditch. We hit hard. My head hit the dash and I was out cold. I'm not sure how long I was out for, but when I did come to, it was late evening. The sky was hanging low and it was painted blood red. It took me a while to get to my bearings. Once I did remember where I was and why I was horrified, Andy was lying on the ground next to me. His head had a large cut on it and it was oozing blood. I immediately checked his pulse. Luckily, he was alive. But I knew that if he didn't get help soon, he would certainly die. I used one of the broken shards of glass on the ground to cut off a piece of my shirt and tied the fabric around Andy's head to stop bleeding. After I brought my unconscious husband, I decided to take inventory of everything around me. The car was clearly busted and couldn't be repaired. I looked through it to see if there was anything I could use. I found the handgun, which was a surprise at the time, since I hadn't learned of its existence. I knew it would be useful though, so I took it. "Hey," Andy said. I screamed at the top of my lungs. I had no fucking idea he'd woken up. He was obviously weak. He could barely stand. After a little bit of standing around, we spoke.
"We should go deeper into the forest."
"Yeah, let me help you walk." He put his arm over my shoulder and we walked into the woods off the side of the road. After about an hour walking in the woods, Andy collapsed from exhaustion. He was still conscious, but he just couldn't walk a step farther. I set him down on the ground and leaned him up against a rock. "I'm going to get kindling for a fire just in case it gets colder overnight. You going to be okay here alone?" He groaned in affirmation as I set out. I didn't stray too far from where he was, in case it got worse. The woods gave me the creeps. I was almost done collecting firewood when I heard Andy scream, followed by a gunshot. I dropped everything in my hands and sprinted back to the spot. Andy was wheezing and gasping for air. He had the handgun clenched tightly in his hand. When he saw me, he had tears in his eyes. What's wrong?" I yelled, panicked. He only said one word. "Zombie." Then started coughing up blood. It took him a while to stop. Once I was sure he was done and not going to die immediately, I went out and recollected firewood. It took me longer than a second for some reason. I came back with the wood at just around sundown. Andy was doing real bad. He couldn't form a complete sentence. He seemed close to death. I made the fire. I figured he should be warm if he dies. I couldn't hold back my tears. I thought this would be my last day seeing my husband, and his last memories would be of me being traitorously stupid. Suddenly he started screaming, "Zombie! Zombie! Zombie!" Just like that over and over again. He pointed towards the woods. Just at the edge of the area the fire illuminated, I could see a man. A tall man. He stepped more into the light. I could see his face clearly. The face of the man I would never forget. The man whose blood I cleaned up off the floor of a sweet carpet the night before. He looked more pale than before. His eyes seemed grayer. He looked less human. His black clothes were still stained with blood. The cut on his neck had completely scabbed over. The man slowly began walking towards us, knife in hand. I grabbed Andy from under his arm and pulled him up off the ground with a strength I didn't know I had. We began running deeper into the woods. Soon the kick of adrenaline began wearing off and I fell over. Andy landed on top of me. I thought it was over. Andy was rolled off of me and a firm hand grabbed my shoulder. He pulled me up and put a knife to my neck. Andy stood up and pointed the gun at the man. But he kneeled over. He began coughing up blood like he did before, but even worse. I screamed out of emotional pain. I could see him dying. Just as I thought all was lost, the man took the knife away from my neck and pushed me to the ground. I could see him move towards Andy. I screamed for him to stop. He dropped the knife. I screamed more. He continued moving. I screamed louder. He pulled something out of his jacket. I screamed until my throat gave out. He bent down. I could see now that the thing in his hand was a syringe. He spoke.
"This is early. but I cannot have you die,"
he said as he stabbed Andy in the neck with a syringe. I passed out. The next thing I knew, I was in the police station chair. I was told by some detective that I was found in the middle of the road, so they figured out who we were and brought us to our hometown. I don't remember much. I was in a haze. I soon noticed that Andy wasn't there. Where the fuck is my husband?
He's in the hospital. The doctors say he'll survive, but they still need to operate on him.
I need to see him.
I'm afraid that's not possible. They won't accept visitors.
They drove me home then. I've been stressing all day since then, trying to find more information on what we're dealing with. I went on Andy's computer and found his post. I thought I should update you guys on what happened. For him and for you. People need to know about this. What should I do? I need advice. Until later. Sam. Good night.
If you like this video, please consider subscribing. And if you're an animal lover like me, please consider donating to the World Land Trust, a charity that aims to help wildlife through buying land, preventing development, and helping endangered species.